Well, let me tell you right at the outset, I'm not a big businessman. I'm not a big successful businessman who's built really huge businesses. But I did have a very independent streak when I was young. And when I was 17, I started my own company with the tutelage and the help and the guidance of a friend of mine that was doing night maintenance. He was cleaning, he had his own maintenance company. And he would go in at nighttime while the bank was closed and he would clean. And he also cleaned some other office buildings. And he had several stops that he would make every night. Then he would sleep late, sleep during the day. And so I did that. I started my own maintenance. I just can't remember the name. That was such a long time ago. But then I realized that dumping garbage cans and cleaning toilets was something anybody could do. There was no real technology to that. And so the pay was commensurate with not having a big skill set. But occasionally, what another friend of mine was doing was cleaning carpets. And I saw people come up and say, "Hey, can you get this gum out of the carpet?" They had no idea how to get gum out of the carpet. Not that hard. They had no idea how to get this stain out of the carpet. And when it came to what we called, one thing was red dye number 3, that you had to cut out. You couldn't get that color out of anything because of the nature of that dye. How do you clean a sisal carpet? How do you clean a wool carpet, which really smells when it gets wet? How do you handle cat smell when the cats have been urinating in the corner? How do you get rid of that? I learned all these things, and I bought for $80, $85 this kit of all these different chemicals. And I love chemistry since I was a kid, so this fit really well for me. So I did carpet cleaning. After carpet cleaning, stint in religion, didn't have a career for a while, created my own company where I was doing advertising at college campuses around the United States. I remember telling my mother, I said, wow, I can make some pretty good money doing that if I do that for several companies. And I could make maybe $1,000 a week. And this was in 1986. And my mother said, oh, Matthew, we can't do that. As if there was a curse on the blood of my family or something to where that was too much money to make. A couple of weeks later, I was doing it though, because I was always kind of thinking outside the box. So I did that, made up that business, kind of created it. Met a guy that my mother and father were working for, licking envelopes, putting stamps on envelopes and sending them out. And he was actually a criminal and had a lot of his mailboxes actually seized by the government because he was offering scams. And I came to understand what it was like to have some kind of a mail order business that was fraudulent. And he was a fraudulent guy. And I got involved with him a little bit until I figured out, wow, this guy's, he's a bad person. He's not really bringing value to people. And after a while, I realized that when I was posting all of these offers at college campuses, we called it wallpapering because you're just putting these things up everywhere. You don't obey the rules because if you do obey the rules, nobody's going to see it. So very fascinating job, but I didn't feel good about that job at all. And I was making pretty good money in 1986, $1,000 a week, my own company, my own business, driving around the US, partying, having a great time, seeing the country. But my conscience was not clear. What did I end up doing? Well, when I had a chance, I started studying computers and I started studying programming because I had experience when I was younger working for a TV repair business that a friend of the family was doing. And I learned about how to read schematics. I think I was probably 10 years old, 9 years old. I learned how to read schematics and I learned how to troubleshoot circuit boards. And so when it came to doing software or doing computer business, that was a natural for me. I really enjoyed it, and I ended up having being a consultant at several of the Fortune 500 businesses, and also having my own firm where we had about 15 employees. And we were doing software and selling hardware, building and selling hardware in the San Diego area. After that, I did software for a long time. I did that in San Diego, and then I went to San Francisco and was working as a consultant there. And I was self-taught because not really that I'm that smart, not really that smart. It was because I'm a horrible student. And when I would take programming classes, I couldn't really absorb, I couldn't really understand because the order in which the information was given to me and the order in which I was able to apply that information and what the teacher was talking about and how that study system worked in the schools just didn't work for me. That's why I quit high school and took a test. Never finished high school, did just a year and a half out of the 4 years. But I took a test and I passed the test because I was asked to blab on paper about women's equal rights or something like that. And so I wrote about women's equal rights, pro or con, whatever. And that was the essay that was required, along with basic math skills and English skills and other basic skills. And I passed that in the state of California when I guess I was 16 years old. And I went to work full time after that. So it was easy for me to be doing kind of my own businesses because I was thinking outside the box. So then when I was doing software for so long and I left San Francisco because the lifestyle that my friends were living and the goals and dreams they were pursuing didn't work for me. And I thought, I had a friend that was from China and he was going back to China. He said, come back with me. I'll introduce you to China. Maybe you'll like it. I went there and I fell in love with a girl. In the first week I was there, I think I was there 2 weeks on holiday. And came back to San Francisco at the end of that holiday, sold all my stuff, moved back to China because I was so interested in the culture, what was happening. So what did I do? I went from there and my computer skills were no longer of any value in China. Nobody needed me, nobody wanted me. They were just doing just fine. So I started teaching English. And that was the next business I did, teaching English. And what did I learn? I'm going to have to continue this at a later time because I've got an appointment right now. So let's put this on hold. Okay, I'm back. So teaching English. So what I ended up doing for many years from that point, my basic way to make a living, my basic way to survive, make a little bit of extra money on the side has been by teaching English. And so I started teaching English online several years ago. I was one of the first to do that because I found it much more convenient than traveling to visit the students or having the students come to visit me. I didn't want to teach in the schools. I taught in several schools all over China and Thailand, but I didn't enjoy the process of trying to teach people. A good many of them didn't want to study, didn't want to learn. So I switched to a one-on-one model. Excuse me. And teaching one-on-one created a business called English Buddy, and teaching English to people a little bit in Thailand, but I preferred to teach the people in China. They seem to be much more hungry for learning English and increasing their quality of spoken English. So what did I learn after all these businesses, after doing all these businesses? Excuse me. I learned that it's not all about the money. In fact, we spend a lot of our time investing our time and energy into doing something to make a living, just so we can pay the bills, just so we can eat and pay the rent, so we're not sleeping outside on the dirt. Better be something you like to do. And you can do something you like to do. And sometimes it's very, very hard to do something that you really like to do. Excuse me, something that you really like to do, something that you find that is of really good value to the world, something that's important to you, something that has meaning, and something where you can also make a living. And I noticed when I lived in the States, actually anywhere that I've gone, 99% of the people are doing something for a living that they really don't like. But I do find that people in some of these Asian countries, they want to have a restaurant, they want to have a coffee shop. They actually like to do it a lot more than the office workers or other employees that I met in the States when I was a computer consultant. And I'd come in and I'd see the people, they were just really unhappy. And they weren't really making much money at all. They weren't able to save much money, or they weren't able to have a very good standard of living. So what I learned after several businesses is I want to do something that I feel is important, not just be a slave and help somebody get rich, but do something that I feel is important to do, something that also I can live. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to make a huge amount of money, an unlimited amount of money. I don't want to become an expert about manipulating cash and manipulating people. I want to become an expert at contribution. I want to do what I can do to make the world a better place. And this community can do that. This community can, not going to make anybody rich at any level in the project. But what it can do is provide a living for some people and provide a meaningful life where people are really contributing to the world, contributing to the people around them. And if you're able to make a living at doing that, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I took away from starting so many businesses and doing so many jobs. I did a lot of other jobs too. I worked for McDonald's as a cook. I got up at 4:30 in the morning to go do that when I was 16 years old. That was an interesting job. I was a roofer, jumping around on roofs that are slanted like this in the rain or the hot days. That was quite an experience. So I've done a lot of different kinds of jobs. I've sold bicycles, I've repaired bicycles for a bike shop, a couple of bike shops. And no big business, right? No big businesses, but some good business experience. And I feel like I've learned a lot. And I feel like I really know what is important to me and what I'd rather not waste my time doing. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe.